live here?
Yes.
Maybe you know what a zombie is.
When a person dies and is buried, it seems to certain voodoo priests who have the power to bring him back to life.
That's horrible.
It's worse than horrible because a zombie has no will of his own. We see them sometimes walking around blindly with dead eyes, following orders, not knowing what they do, not caring.
You mean like Democrats?
Ah, yes. Even Bob Hope knew way back when. Mr. Hope. They haven't changed much, have they? I think zombies are less dangerous than Democrats, though. Bum, 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 bum. I walk along the city streets, but not in New York because the Democrats are shooting people all over the place there. Well, let me say that we have a great many things to get to. And we have more moving parts than we can manage here. Just discovering as we discuss. Michael Pierce, it's us. It's no big team of people, none of that. But let me get into some crazy stuff. Now, Michael, where do these start? Where do they begin on our elaborate cut sheet for the day? Because the ICE and the Democrat Party's violent attacks on immigration and customs of enforcement and their armed militias, the Democrat Party's transgender communist militias attacking and shooting people, and it's pretty weird out there. But ICE, for example, this is a story that matters that the news media won't talk about. The Nebraska Examiner has the headline: ICE says it arrested MS-13 kingpin in Omaha. Omaha? Why Omaha? Well, because the Democrat Party has done this to the whole country. The Democrat Party is undemocratic. They're a threat to democracy. They're Hitler. They're all Hitler. That's the language that is preferred, right? Everybody's Hitler. They're all Hitler. Omaha, the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement arrested a man Wednesday from El Salvador, that ICE describes as one of that country's most wanted criminals, and said they found him hiding in Nebraska's largest city. ICE did not identify the man, telling reporters the investigation is not yet complete, but in a Wednesday press conference, a press release, rather, described him as an MS-13 kingpin and said he was wanted for homicide. That's killing people, murdering people. The Democrats, they like murder. They want more murder. That's why our borders are open and gang members are let free everywhere in the country. Jihadis are, running for mayor of New York. Nebraska U.S. Senator Deb Fischer, she's a Republican, sent in a statement posted on social media outlet X. She thanked federal and local law enforcement agencies for working around the clock to keep our Nebraska communities safe. Now, the Republican senator, Deb Fischer, sounds like a rational, normal person. And the Democrat Party, of course, they'll fight ICE, their mayors, their elected members of Congress. They'll fight, violently attack ICE, federal law enforcement, and beat them in an effort to stop them from enforcing the laws of the United States of America because they're an anarchist gang of miscreants. Now, the ICE release described the arrested leader as wanted in connection with the homicides of 5 people, an attempted homicide on at least one more person, and an affiliation with a gang, that's MS-13, that they allege is involved in terrorism. That's MS-13. Federal law enforcement officials announced that he was arrested with another member of MS-13, also in the country without documentation, that is to say an illegal, filthy, stinking criminal alien that the Democrat Party wants to live with your daughter. They identified him as Rene Saul Escobar Ochoa. I read that this morning. I thought, wait, he's an Escobar and an Ochoa? Two of your major drug lords, drug kingpins, cartel leaders, the Pablo Escobar and Jorge Ochoa, the Ochoa brothers, Escobar and Ochoa. ICE said in the release he's accused of having given orders to fellow gang members to commit a variety of crimes, including multiple homicides, extortion, imprisonment, and drug trafficking. Now, the Democrats will fight you every step of the way, and by their deeds, by their actions, and by their words, but by their actions, certainly, we see what the Democrats are fighting for is more homicides, more extortion, more imprisonment, I guess that's kidnapping and holding people hostage, and more drug trafficking, which will lead to tens of thousands of overdose deaths next year and this year. Both men were arrested without incident. It's because there are no Democrat mayors or members of Congress there to attack law enforcement and defend the criminals who they want to have margaritas with. Aren't they amazing? So arrested without incident in a joint law enforcement operation that included ICE, Homeland Security Investigations, we see a lot of them lately, HSI, and the Federal Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and Explosives. You know, the Bureau of ATF. And that's, as we like to say, alcohol, tobacco, firearms, and explosives should be a convenience store, not a government agency. Said that the men had lived in Omaha, these gang members from Central America, because the Democrat Party wants Omaha to burn, just like Minneapolis and Portland and Seattle and so many other cities that the Democrat Party has burned in the last few years. They thought they could hide in America's heartland, but they were sadly mistaken, said Homeland Security Investigation Kansas City Special Agent in Charge Mark Zito, like Zwitek and Zito, Miami Vice, whose office oversees Omaha. Not on our watch, said the special agent in charge, Mark Zito. Not on our watch. Now, again, the Democrat Party, their elected officials from the U.S. Congress, all right, LaMonica MacGyver, to the mayor of Newark, New Jersey, violently attacking federal law enforcement agents, fighting for illegal alien gang members who murder and kidnap and traffic in drugs and child sex trafficking. And the Democrat Party, they applaud all that, and they fight for more of it, hammer and sickle, every step of the way. Aren't they amazing? Now, let's go to the audio sound bites. Democrat Congressman Lou Correa, who is a Democrat from California. There is legislation that the Democrats are introducing that will require federal agents to not wear masks to conceal their identities from the drug cartels, the murderers, some of the biggest mass murderers in the world, the drug cartels in Mexico, the Sinaloa cartel, the South American drug cartels. And, they hunt down police in Latin America and kill them at home and kill their families. And the Democrats are like, well, that could work here in the United States, too. We could have more law enforcement murders. The Democrats, again, their transgender brigade in Texas they shot an ICE guy in the neck just the other day, and 11 arrested, 12th on the run. 2 or 3 of them at least are transgender because they're the Democrat Party. But here is California Democrat Lou Correa.
I'm going to introduce legislation that essentially says no more masked federal agents in our community. Only the bad guys wear masks.
They were fine with masks when the communists in New York were violently attacking Jews on the campus of Columbia University, where Barack Obama went. They covered their identities with masks while they're committing crimes. The law enforcement they're concealing their identity with masks because they don't want their families murdered by the drug cartels and the gangs that are well known for doing exactly that in Mexico and points south. Another Democrat from California, and it's Alex Padilla. Alex Padilla this time. Senator Alex Padilla, the one that nobody recognized when he caused trouble. He was the one who went and assaulted, where did he go? It was the Kristi Noem press conference where he violently attacked law enforcement there and had to be dragged out of there because he's a fascist. His name is Alex Padilla. He's a Democrat senator.
The bill is actually pretty straightforward. No face coverings, no mask, whether you're a citizen, a legal resident, or an undocumented immigrant, and somebody without these identifiers is approaching you, masked up, coming out of a marked car. You have no idea what's going on.
Yeah, law enforcement arresting people, that can be scary for criminals. That's and the Democrat Party, Democrat from New York, Congressman Dan Goldman.
Why are you wearing masks? I was a federal prosecutor for 10 years. I worked with ICE agents. I worked with law enforcement agents. I never saw any of them wear masks. This is brand new. And the question is, if everything is legitimate and proper, why are you wearing masks to hide your face?
You're really that dumb? Are you that filthy corrupt? Those are the only two possibilities. Sometimes wear masks to protect their identities during operations, intended to prevent agents from being targeted by groups that will kill them. That's why. Is that really too hard for you? Are you that third world banana boat corrupt? Honestly, they're just amazing. Now, President Trump was asked about this yesterday at the White House on unmasking ICE agents. And President Trump, he must, read the papers or something.
These officers are doing a tremendous job. They're great patriots. If you expose them because of, statements like have been made by Democrats and others on the left, usually, mostly, I think probably exclusively, you put them in great danger, tremendous danger.
And that's the goal. The goal is to threaten federal law enforcement with murder at the hands of drug cartels, drug traffickers, human traffickers, child sex traffickers, murderers, and they're all illegal aliens. Otherwise, ICE wouldn't be going after them. And the Democrat Party is all in with everything criminal. Honestly, President Trump.
And it's sort of funny when people picket in front of Columbia, in front of Harvard, and they have masks on, more than masks. I mean, you can't see anything. Nobody complains about that. But when a patriot who works for ICE or Border Patrol puts a mask on so that they won't recognize him and his family, so they can lead a little bit of a normal life after having worked so hard and so dangerously, there's a problem with that.
Yeah, it is. It's the third worlding of the United States at the hands of the left, and the left is the Democrat Party. And Dan Goldman, maybe let's dox him to the cartels. Aren't they amazing? And, of course, Democrats, transgender armies of 12 are out there shooting at the agents. President Trump on the Democrats and their latest loony bill that will lead to more mayhem.
This is the problem with the Democrats. They have a lot of bad things going on in their heads. They've really become they've lost their confidence, number one, and they've become somewhat deranged.
Again, I would delete somewhat. Peter Doocy then asked President Trump about, the Democrats violently attacking with rifles and cross-dressing, attacking federal law enforcement.
Do you think that this was an isolated incident, or do you think there's a national threat of a left-wing militia that is targeting ICE and CBP?
Well, I think you have some very stupid people in the left who have some money that are making it available to these people, because you look at the guns they had, they were brand new.
Yeah, it's, AR-15s and it's and the news media has just dropped. It's not a story they want to cover. It's not a right-wing militia, because there are no right-wing militias, as it turns out. At least there haven't been, since we defeated the Democrats in the American Civil War in the 1860s. John Fetterman is you're in trouble when John Fetterman is the only Democrat that has two brain cells.
Absolutely unacceptable, terrible, awful. ICE agents are just doing their job, and I fully support that. People in my party might, want to abolish it or treat them as criminals or anything. That's inappropriate and outrageous.
We're in the midst of the uncivil war, and the Democrats are the uncivil. if you've had enough of big wireless companies pushing you around, it's time to switch to Consumer Cellular. With Consumer Cellular, you're going to get the same fast, reliable nationwide coverage as you get with the giant companies, but without the big wireless price tag and without the megacorp shenanigans that, they're famous for, to force you into an unlimited data plan when you really don't need an unlimited data plan. Consumer Cellular is not a prepaid option. That's not what they give you. You pick a plan, one that works for you. You know exactly what your bill's going to be at the end of every month, and it's incredibly easy to switch. All you have to do is give them a call. Talk to an actual human being, not a robot, based right here in the United States, not on a space platform. And they make the plan switching plans fast and easy, and you save a lot of money. Now you can get your second month free right now with my special promo code Chris. Listen, taxes and third-party fees will apply, but you can check out consumercellular.com/Chris. consumercellular.com/Chris for more information, or call them on the telephone and talk to a real person at 800-760-0702. Yeah, the Democrats are trying to make life more dangerous for federal law enforcement and much better for criminals that are here illegally. That's the Democrat Party. That's why they opened our borders. It's the fundamental transformation of America. Chris here with a list of things that none of us should trust. The Washington Post, the New York Times, anything on CNN. Here's a list of things that I do trust. The Washington Times. Support real journalism for just $1 a week at washingtontimes.com/Chris. Almost a year ago, a Democrat shot Donald Trump through the ear in Butler, Pennsylvania, in an effort to assassinate him. The Democrat murdered one man, a great family man and firefighter, wounded two others for political reasons, of course, like Democrats murdered the CEO in New York and Democrats shot federal law enforcement in Texas, and Democrats, they kill for political reasons a lot, don't they? Yes, they do. Shot and killed two Israeli embassy personnel. They had one self-immolate and kill himself at the Israeli embassy. They're doxing federal ICE agents in an effort to threaten their lives. They're Democrats. But a story out today, the Secret Service suspended 6 personnel without pay as the agency faced intense scrutiny after the assassination attempt against President Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania, nearly a year ago. Secret Service Deputy Director Matt Quinn told CBS News their penalties ranged from 10 days to 42 days of leave without pay or benefits. Personnel placed into restricted duty or roles with less operational responsibility upon their return. And ABC News says this happened months and months ago, but nobody was paying attention. We don't have legitimate news media. We're more and more like the Soviet Union every day because of, Democrats. I've got President Trump and his navel coming up. The Iranians threatening his navel because they're demented and mentally ill. They're like Democrats. Let's go to a phone call. Let's go to Jim, calling from the great state of Arkansas. Jimmy, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Christopher, thank you for taking my call. Hey, I have a way to shut the door on these maroons in Congress who keep saying only bad guys wear masks.
Uh-huh.
Either they're not culturally aware, I guess, of our law enforcement history. Have these guys never heard of the Lone Ranger, Batman, Robin? Can I go on? Should I go on?
Yeah, go on. Yeah. This is great because I saw you up on the big screen and I started saying to Michael the same thing. I said, well, what about the Lone Ranger? And I said, yeah, and Batman and Robin. And, yeah, you should go on because you've thought it out and I haven't.
Well, no, I'm sure you have, Chris. In your humble servant way, you've already thought of this, but you teed one of your listeners up to be able to call in and get the credit for this. But I haven't heard anybody else anywhere talking about this, and it's just so obvious that is the way to have a mic drop moment. Do you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, and I hope that people are listening to this in Washington, and I know that they are. People at Capitol Hill and law enforcement. You're absolutely right. Yeah, let's start with the Lone Ranger, and we should end the show with the Lone Ranger music today because that's great stuff. And you're right, Batman and Robin, and surely there are other superheroes and comic books. And I'm looking at Michael now because he's more of a comic book guy than I am. But
there's dozens and dozens. There's dozens. Either these guys who brought this legislation up are not culturally aware, or they're just, let's face it, Democrats.
Yeah, honestly, and it's a mental illness at this point.
Correct. Hey, can we chase a different rabbit for a second?
Sure.
Do you think? Let me preface it with this. I am so tired of congressional hearings. Go back to Lois Lerner. Go back to James Comer and everything he uncovered about Hunter and the president, and just all the Democrats who have snubbed their nose at congressional subpoenas. None of them have been held accountable. Now we've got all these hearings about Comey and penitentiary phase. Do you really think, Chris, that anybody is going to be ever held accountable? Congressional hearings are, to me, at this point, laughable dog and pony shows.
Yeah, you're right. It's all television. It's all a terrible television show.
Well, why isn't something done? Do they not have the teeth in the law to do anything, or do they not have the intestinal fortitude to go forward with it? They certainly went after Trump. They went after Peter Navarro. Like you say, they perp walked him like a frog.
Right.
And why don't we do that to these other bad guys? Because guess what? These guys have actually broken the law.
Yeah.
I'm so frustrated.
You're not alone in your frustration, certainly, and I've been talking about some of this elements of what you're talking about for years on the radio now, that the lack of accountability in Washington, and it's all just theater and show business. And James Clapper, one of my favorites, lying about under oath to the Senate about spying on all Americans and vacuuming up all of our metadata so they can catalog it and spy on us, and they're filling giant servers in the middle of the country that are the size of small cities to vacuum up all of our data. And Lois Lerner abusing the IRS to target the political enemies of Barack Obama and the Democrat Party. And you're absolutely right, there's never any accountability, and it is very frustrating. And I'm with you 100%. I've got to say, Jim, that I'm with you and it is. And then we say, well, we got to win the House, and then we win the House, right? Got to win the Senate. You got to have the White House, the House, and the Senate. Then there will be accountability. And then where's the Jeffrey Epstein list, right? Where's the I've got the and she's wonderful, our Attorney General Pam Bondi. Oh, I've got the files on my desk, she said months ago, the Jeffrey Epstein files, and still months later, nothing. And again, I don't know if you heard my hypothesis about this earlier, but talking to people who are plugged in intelligence and military, saying, well, Jeffrey Epstein was being used by how did he make all his money? What was he, a Wall Street investor? No, but suddenly he's got so much money that he's got an island and a private jet, and he's trafficking some of the world's most famous people in and out of there and videotaping their misbehaviors, their misdeeds. And it looks like, and again, this is something that needs to be investigated, but I'm bringing this up because I'm talking to people, and this is what I'm hearing, that the U.S. intelligence community was so involved with Jeffrey Epstein and using him to entrap people and snare people and then use them or milk them and abuse them in various ways, the U.S. intelligence community. And I haven't established that to the point of satisfaction, but I think it's something that needs to be investigated because it might be the only thing that can explain the lack of action by Pam Bondi at the Justice Department and Kash Patel at FBI and Dan Bongino and Donald Trump in making this stuff public. And it is very, very disturbing. Again, we spend years talking about and organizing and raising money and campaigning and getting Republicans elected to the House, to the Senate. You take over control. You got the White House, you got the House, you got the Senate, and still there is a real lack of satisfaction, isn't there, Jim?
I agree. I tell you, I heard. I know you're already in bed at when Gutfeld's on, getting ready for your next active day. But one of his guests last night said something that I think I'm going to have to be the only thing I can hold on to, because I don't think we're ever going to hear anything about any of this. The way the president acted yesterday, they're going to shut it down. But this guy said, I trust Dan Bongino, I trust the president, I trust Kash Patel. We just have to realize that if they release this stuff, it's going to blow the place up. And so, for whatever reason, they know they have it. They're playing this game to keep from blowing, I guess, everything up is what this guy said. And I think that does have a certain sense of I think it makes sense in a way, because I do trust these guys, and I know you do too. But I agree. I mean, it's a real problem for them. It's a real problem. They've definitely fumbled it.
Well, and that's not being handled well at all right now, and we must say it out loud. And a couple of things I'm going to say. I mean, that would fit in what you're describing with my intelligence commune meddling or managing of Jeffrey Epstein over the years, and everybody's in a trap. And the U.S. intelligence community would blow up how many different administrations, presidential administrations, and the CIA has got about 40 black eyes right now in our intelligence community, and this could be maybe the biggest of all, because of it might be the world's biggest blackmail operation, right? And that could explain everything. And I got to say something else, Jim, and that is, I'll be asleep by then. My show is on Newsmax at the same time at 10 p.m. Eastern. My television show, The Right Squad, is on at the same time. So I'm generally up. I'm up till 11 or 12 every night, even though I get up at 5. I try to take a quick nap in the afternoon. Yes, sir.
Christopher, are you not pre-recorded?
It is pre-recorded, but still my show's on at that time, and I pay attention. Yeah.
Well, of course I have you on my DVR.
Look, I'm not taking umbrage or anything. I just had to make a note of the time reference. That's all.
I got you.
You understand?
I appreciate it, Christopher. I love you. Every day I'm not working, I spend the morning with you. Get my day started off right, and I appreciate you. And carry on. Keep up the good work.
Thank you, Jimmy. Thank you very much. Great call. Great talking to you. Very nice. Very nice. Now let's we're talking a lot about Democrats today and their various mental illnesses. One of their mental illnesses is gender dysphoria. And we have a Supreme Court justice who's the biggest loser ever to serve on the Supreme Court, Joe Biden's nominee, Ketanji Brown Jackson, chosen for all the wrong reasons. And it shows every time she rears her head. Remarkable stuff. She doesn't know what a woman is. But the governor of California has been flip-flopping all over the place. Well, I think it's unfair to women to have men competing, he said a while back. And then he came out again yesterday. Did he come out? Well, not entirely yet as a transgender or anything, but he came out yesterday. He's like, oh, well, sure, it's unfair, but I'm in favor of the unfairness, right? And then I've got the head of education in Oklahoma that I want to share with you, the great state of Oklahoma. And let's go to this nice young woman, Sophia Laurie. Sophia Laurie is a California college athlete, competitive athlete, and a very bright-eyed woman. She seemed great. It was the first time I had seen her, but she's wonderful, and she's talking about the Gavin Newsom, who's kind of trans-ethical and has been flip-flopping and going back and forth. Is it cheating? Is it unfair? Is it stealing to have men competing as women? And don't say biological men versus biological women. Those words, that word biological in that context is superfluous, unnecessary. We're talking about men and women, boys versus girls. Those are the only genders there are. And Democrats are mentally ill when it comes to the rest of it. But here's this California college athlete, a very bright young woman, Sophia Lory.
I am extremely grateful that we have an administration that's coming after Governor Newsom's CIF and the California Department of Ed. It's beyond embarrassing that they've chosen to die on the hill of allowing male genitalia to be exposed in girls' locker rooms and to allow girls to lose their right to safe and fair sports. So I'm very grateful they're coming against him and using his own words. He claims it's deeply unfair. He's deeply full of it. He's done nothing to save girls' sports.
Yeah, he said weeks ago now that having men compete against women is deeply unfair, and it sounded like he was going to do the right thing for a moment. But when you're a Democrat, that doesn't matter. You can just flip-flop 30 seconds later, and 60 Minutes will admire you for your shamelessness or whatever it is. Now, Gavin Newsom yesterday on, again, he said, and Sophia Lory was quoting him there, here's the trans-ethical governor of California, Gavin Newsom.
My position is I don't think it's fair, but I also think it's demeaning to talk down to people and to belittle the trans community. And I don't like the way the right wing talks about the trans community. These people just want to survive.
You communist Nazi. I didn't like the way the right wing talks about it. You left wing mental cases need to take about 30 seconds to learn biology, science, culture, civilization. I know you're not good at any of this, but just amazing. And the way the right wing belittles trans. You know what? Stop stealing. And you're not being belittled. You're being called out for the fraud that you're perpetrating. And Sophia Lory was played that soundbite for her and said, Sophia, what do you think about him, the way that he just flip-flopped?
That's what we've seen the entire time he's been governor. He says one thing, but he does nothing about it. He just wants to be president one day. And you know what's belittling? What's belittling is telling girls they have to share a podium with a male, telling girls they have to suck it up and deal with the chance of being injured on a field due to a male. Our governor's doing nothing for females in the state of California.
She's great. I liked her very much. Very well-spoken, very clear-eyed, relaxed, smiling, and a college athlete. Wonderful. I thought she's just great. Now, also this morning I was watching the television, and the superintendent of the state of Oklahoma, the school system in Oklahoma, his name is Ryan Walters. And it turns out that in Oklahoma now, they've got new rules. They got new rules, like Bill Maher. They got new rules, and the new rules are that if you want to come to Oklahoma to teach school, that they're going to have certain Western civilization-oriented requirements for you.
President Trump is the one fighting for fairness and keeping the rest of the country from becoming this woke dumpster fire that's in California. That's why we announced today, if you're going to come from California to Oklahoma to teach, we're going to make sure you take a test and understand basic biology before we let you in a classroom. We partnered with PragerU on this and said, hey, if you don't know the difference between a boy and a girl, you're not teaching our kids. Gavin Newsom has warped their entire school system there in California.
He has, and that is just great. This guy was great. Ryan Walters, I think he's got a future in politics. The superintendent of the Oklahoma State school system. You come to Oklahoma to teach, especially if you're coming from California. We're going to give you a test, and places like where Democrats have made everyone, I almost used a bad word, made everyone mental dwarves, let's say, cultural dwarves, biological idiots, and they don't know what boys are and girls are. They don't know what gender is. They don't know what biology is. We're going to have you take a test, and we're not going to infect our schools in Oklahoma with the mental illness that the Democrats have afflicted their states with. There are boys and there are girls. Boys grow up to be men. You can dress up like a lady all you want, and that's fine with me. And you can chop off your schwanz if that is your desire. You can put it in a mayonnaise jar and put it on your mantle for all I care. Your mental illness is not on my list of concerns. Until you insist on being in everybody's face all day, every day about your mental illness. And again, cross-dress all you want at home. You know, you're J. Edgar Hoover. I don't care. You're a Mary. That's fine. Why I have to be a part of that, I don't know. And you shouldn't be allowed to steal from girls and women and to cheat. We used to mock East Germany for sending men to the Olympics with bulges in their little suits. And they're saying, oh, no, they are women. Comrade workers, they are women. And we used to mock them and laugh out loud at them. And now the Democrat Party is East Germany during the Soviet days. And, the East Germans, they didn't really pretend that they were women. They knew they were cheating and stealing, and they were fine with that because they're communists. And now the Democrat Party is a mentally ill version of that.
No more masked federal agents in our community. Only the bad guys wear masks.
Yes, Democrats. And Jim called in from Arkansas to point out, hey, the Lone Ranger wears masks. What are you talking about? And then we started, because Jim is onto it. I got to tell you, we got to turn this around. I looked at it on Al Gore's Amazing Internet, and even Sesame Street was selling Heroes Wear Masks. Heroes wear masks. They're trying to propagandize children into wearing, Wuhan Red Death masks because of the communists murdering millions of people again. 7 million people allegedly with their Wuhan Red Death out of the Wuhan Institute of Virology that Anthony Fauci helped to fund. Yeah, but heroes wear masks. And Jim and I, we were talking about, you were listening, you were there, we were right there, and talking about, you say, yeah, the Lone Ranger wears a mask to conceal his identity from the bad guys, not from the good guys, from the bad guys. And let's not forget about Batman and the Boy Wonder. The Boy Wonder, Robin, Burt Ward, and Chief O'Hara, and the whole gang.
If Robin and I were to remove our masks, the secret of our true identities would be revealed.
Completely destroying their value as ex-crime fighters.
Sure, ma'am. Not even Commissioner Gordon and myself know who they really are.
In fact, our own relatives we live with don't know.
Our own relatives we live with don't even know. We wear masks because the bad guys might see we're wearing. Then the bad guy, the villains, although Catwoman, you might give her your address, your cell phone number to her. Julie Newmar was, but that was different, but they still didn't know who she was. Yeah, the heroes wear masks. Good guys wear masks. I got to tell you, what should happen here is the ICE people should come out with the slogan, heroes wear masks, right? Heroes wear masks. Then you got to do an image of the Lone Ranger and a Batman and Robin and put that behind you because, these communist, lunatic, genocidal anti-Semites, they wear masks to conceal their identities while they're committing crimes. That's different. That's completely different. The Lone Ranger, Batman, Robin, I got to say, Batwoman. She mostly, all I can think, I can't remember the mask. I just remember the outfit. Just the outfit. It was a form-fitting outfit. It was very good.